And I hung up right away. And I'll never forget the feeling I had. I'm the owner of Premium Finance Brokerage. PFB is the largest privately held aggregator of insurance premium financing in the country. When I first got started back in 2005, shortly after I got my feet underneath of me, I had a massive fraud. And how they did that and the scheme that they perpetrated on this bank is really a small, I'd call it almost a miniature version of what Bernie Madoff did. This client happened to be a friend of mine. I'd known him for years. And it really affected me personally. But this person I had known for a long time. He had worked for a larger insurance agency and then went off on his own, started his own agency, and I partnered with him, did all his financing for him. And what he was doing was he would actually manufacture business that wasn't real. He would play a role as not only the insurance agent, but he would play a role as a representative from an insurance company. And he would play a role as a representative of the purchaser of insurance. So, and I'll never forget this as long as I live, when we caught him, I happened to go to his office, and he'd sit in this big conference room with a desk about 3 times the size of this desk, and on that desk he'd have all these files. There had to be 40 cell phones on his desk. So when the bank would call to do an inspection, which was very routine, where they would call the insurance company, they'd verify the policies were in place, they'd verify the coverage types, premiums, all that good stuff. He was acting as a representative of the carrier when he really wasn't. So when he would give the bank the number to call to do a verification, well, guess who he was calling? They were calling him. And he would just disguise his voice. It was early morning, probably around 7 o'clock. I happened to be in a town where there was a trade show. And I got a call from this gentleman. And he's like, "Look, man, I'm desperate. I need to get this account processed today." I called the agent back and I said, "Hey, I need to get a contact at the business." So he gives me the name and he says, "Call that person right away." So I get the name, I get the phone number, I give it back to the processor. She tries to reach that person, she can't. So I get a call back from her and she says, "Something's weird." She said, "I called that number you gave me, but the person's voice sounds like the agent's voice." And I'm like, "Nah, that just can't be." So I called. I blocked my number. And I called the number he gave me. I'll never forget this. The gentleman's name was Jim Owens. I called the number. Block my number so he can't see my caller, my phone number. And he picks up the call. And it's him. And I hung up right away. And I'll never forget the feeling I had where it's almost like you can't breathe. It's almost like you just can't believe that this is your friend on the other end. That sinking feeling, I will never forget as long as I live. left that trade show, drove to that gentleman's office. I sat in his office waiting for him to come out. I'm in the parking lot. He never comes out. I waited there for probably 2 hours. So I decided to go in. And that's when I found the conference table with all the phones. And of course, I confronted him. And I'm like, dude, what the hell are you doing? And by the time we had unraveled it, it was about a $4.5 million loss. You befriend someone and you genuinely think that person is your friend. It really has an impact on how you do business with people when someone like that jeopardizes your trust. And that's an incident in my 35 years in business, in working, that I'll never forget. And I've recovered from it because it certainly hurt me. I mean, these loans were fraudulent, so they charge you back. Whatever commission I made from those deals got charged back to me. So it hurt me personally and financially. But you got to be very careful who you do business with. And that's why it's so important to vet people. You do everything you can to make sure that these people share the same values as you. But that's one that I'll never forget as long as I live, especially knowing that I was just starting out. I was only probably at that point 2 years on my own. And I'm trying to feed my family with 2 young boys and a wife at home that's not working. So that was a great lesson in business for me. It was a great lesson in life and who do you trust. But I think it's important that you have to go on, you have to recover from it, and most people are good people